Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And tonight, we'll be looking at a very fascinating topic, conflict management. And our facilitator for tonight is Queen Chimebere Ogbonna. And I would just like to read her profile so that we can get to know her better. Okay, Queen is a dynamic professional, human resource manager, labor administrator, trainer, organizational behaviorist, small, medium enterprise and marketing consultant that is purpose-driven, resilient, and always open to evolving technique. She's an alumnus of the University of Lagos, okay, where she backed a first degree in industrial relations and personnel management. In addition to this, she is a okay, so she has over 5 years experience in core media marketing, and she's currently creating value as an MSME consultant, vocational and career guidance counselor, advocacy expert, employability consultant, and labor administrator. She is with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, managing the Southwest Zone. She has won many awards, and she's also a firm believer in God. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, on this special occasion, I present to you Queen Ogbonna as she takes us on managing conflict.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yemi. Thank you so much for that succinct introduction. And good evening, everybody. I hope that we had a nice Tuesday. And I hope that our day was not far from our expectations when we're setting out in the morning. My name is Queen. I have a HR background. I'm currently a labor administrator, like Mr. Yemi said. And generally, the goal of the Federal Ministry of Labor, the Southwest Zone, we have a core mandate that has to do with introduction in industrial relations, mediation, conciliation, and different things that have to do with conflict. So you can say conflict management is my day-to-day activity in the office, as the case might be. So yes, today we're looking at conflict management. And the reason why I didn't call it resolution in the first place is because you really cannot completely resolve conflicts. It's not 100% resolution. So conflict is mostly managed, as the case might be. Please, if at any point you're not hearing me, kindly use the reaction
button. You are
good,
so ma. Please go ahead, ma. You are good, very good, ma.
All right, thank you very much. So like I said, conflict management is what we're looking at today, and it's because it can only be managed to the best of our abilities. As HR managers, we are caught in the middle most times. We are staffs, but our colleagues don't see us as staff. They see us as management. But we know we are not management. We know that we are staffs. We know that we are employees, as every other person was employed. But because our colleagues see us as management in quotes, whatever we say, we look like the owners of the organization. Meanwhile, we are not. So we also have to have that in mind when we're trying to manage conflict. Okay. All right. So how does conflict start? And what exactly is conflict? How does conflict start? It would have been enjoyable, or I would have been elated to say, oh, don't worry, your day-to-day activity as an HR manager, you would just have it smooth. Nobody would, have issues. You won't have issues. But that's not the case. It's unfortunately, because we are different, the main fact that we're different is one of the major reasons why there must be conflict. And conflict always starts from grievance. Grievance is when I feel that I'm being mistreated. I feel that something is not fair. Okay? If I feel something has been done to me and is not fair, as a person, if I allow it to manifest, where I begin to have confrontations, or I begin to now have maybe physical assault or physical manifestations, maybe a slap or a blow, or we have verbal confrontations, that now escalates to conflict. But everybody that has a conflict would start from that feeling, that imagined cause of being treated unfairly. So it starts from that. And that is the reason why as HR managers, it's important that we understand our people. It's important that we understand the group of people that we have. And I'm still going to go there at the end, towards the end of the slide, understanding people. But everybody that's ever got into a conflict situation started from feeling a resentment, or feeling unfair, or feeling maltreated, or feeling a certain kind of way, which may or may not be the reality of what is on ground. So the fact that the person is feeling a certain kind of way might not be the truth of what is on ground. So like I said, it escalates to conflict when it's not being managed, when it becomes a clash of interest, or a confrontation, or it becomes a verbal exchange, as the case might be. But conflict is inevitable. And like I said, the major reason why it is inevitable is because we are different. I am Queen, and I have Mr. Yemi on the call. I can see Mr. Adekunle on the call. The fact that our names are different clearly shows that the way we see life is different. And that is a major to talk about heads. So at this point, I'd like us to look at the screen and just in one word, say what we think this picture is trying to say. I'll be looking at the chat box for responses. This is a picture. I'd like you to just take a look at it in 1 minute and say, in a short phrase or in one word, what you think this picture is trying to say. I'm waiting. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so someone says love, music. Oh, great. All right, loneliness. Oh, great. Okay, desire. A guy trying to. Okay, so I think I should join from my phone so that I can read the chats clearly. Okay, so some people think that this means love. Some people think it's a man trying to serenade a woman. Some people think he's talking about music. Okay. Let me see more responses. Okay. So some people think, okay, a woman with a bottle of alcohol. All right. Some people think it's two different generations. Okay, fantastic answers. I'm sure a lot of us had to wrap our heads a bit to see what it means. Okay, so now this goes to buttress my point that perspective is everything. The way we see life is everything. So we have about 29 people on the call, and we are hearing different responses. Something is music, something is, someone even said a bottle or something. Someone said it's someone trying to serenade. Okay. So perspective is everything. Sometimes when we're managing conflict in the office, we see that two people can be saying the same thing with different perspectives, and they're just going head to head, head to head. And you're trying to say, can you listen to each other? Because what you're saying is quite similar, but it's sounding different. So that is one of the reasons why conflict, or the major reason why conflict is inevitable, is because perspective is everything. The way I grew up is not the way everybody here grew up. Our backgrounds, our exposures, the associations we have with people, the kind of knowledge that we're exposed to, the kind of materials that we're exposed to, the level of information we're exposed to makes us different. So this picture is gotten from a story, and the story has a background. I think Mr. Yemi was very close to it. It has a background of love. So this is a young man and a young woman. But if this is a young man and a young boy, if you look closely at the picture, you also see that it shows their younger self and their older self. So it shows you how they started, and it also shows you how they are transiting into old age. Okay, but there is no right or wrong answer, because like I said again, perspective is everything in conflict management. Okay, so conflicts, the workplace. What is a workplace? A workplace formerly before COVID used to be a physical place where you come in and get your job done. Maybe you have a workstation and you have job descriptions, you know what to do. But now a workplace is anywhere, whether you're working hybrid, you're working remotely, whether you're in the diaspora, whether you're in the office, whether you're on the field. A workplace is anywhere where you can get work done. Anywhere where you can get work done. So the workplace has gone beyond the boundaries of a wall, and it has gone into future of work, which is remote work or hybrid work. Conflicts can arise from a lot of differences. We have interpersonal differences, and that's the difference between our personalities. We have task differences, and we have cultural differences. Now, as these differences occur, the one that you should be more concerned with as a HR manager is the task difference. When somebody is having interpersonal differences, and that is the reason why from time to time we should let our people understand that work is the primary reason why we are here. Work is what joined us together. So the reason why if I'm Igbo and you are Yoruba, for example, that should be secondary to why we're in the office. That should not come into play. So that has to do with a lot of orientation and a lot of informal communication. But a tax difference where the work itself is what is causing a conflict is what you are more concerned about as an HR manager. You have given a task to 2-3 people, and it's looking like that task is the reason why there is a conflict or a clash of interests. Even though I'm not trying to say that interpersonal or cultural are not important, but I'm trying to say that people should have that, you should inculcate that mindset that is secondary to why we're in the workplace. The work is the primary reason why we're here. And so the work is what everybody should say. Okay, so managing conflicts. Conflict is very inevitable. And that's the reason why we always advise people when they're having team members or a set of people to say, what are the different personalities in your team? Because you will get to a point, if you remember, maybe when we're in university or secondary school, when we talk about the point of group formation, you'll see, forming, norming, storming, I think adjourning or something like that. You'll get to a point where you have to manage different teams as a HR manager. And they must be assigned tasks or job descriptions or work, and there must be conflicts. So conflict can come in 2 ways. It can come with you as a party to that conflict, and it can come with you as a reconciliator. So now if you're a party to the conflict, it means you are it means you also have a clash of interest. So let's say it's between you and the head of accounts. That means you are a party to the conflict. You have an issue with how the head of accounts is managing something that has to do with work. And now I keep saying has to do with work, because anything that doesn't have to do with work, can be put at the corner, because we are here to work. We shouldn't be having conflicts because of personality differences or personality clashes. It shouldn't occur. We should have that mindset that we're here to work. So it's only work that should cause any form of rancor, if there would be, in the workplace. So as a party to the conflict, you raise the issue informally with the person. What we do sometimes is that we talk to every other person about that issue, and we don't talk to the person that is having the issue. So HR manager versus head of account. So the HR manager will talk to the head of account to say, good afternoon, Mr. Lagbaja. Something happened yesterday and I wasn't comfortable with how it was handled. is, I'd like to share my concern, and I'd also like you to, listen and also hear me out and maybe do something about it if you can. And also, we have to be careful, and that's where communication comes in. You have to be careful with the choice of words that you use when there is also already a clash of interest, because we know that there are triggers. People are already triggered. All right. So you deal with the specific issue and avoid attacking the person. So you don't say something like, oh, you lie a lot. That's how you used to lie. Since I've been in this organization, you've been lying. That has taken away the issue, and you begin to attack the person. And there is no adult that you attack that will not form a guard against you. It's impossible. It's a natural instinct. So when you're talking to a person, you say, this issue happened. I wasn't comfortable the way it was handled, and I'd like it to be handled this particular way. And you leave out the fact that you leave out the person's personality out of the issue. So you distinguish between the issue and the person. Because when you begin to attack the person, or you begin to say things that are abusive in quotes, the person stops listening to you and you don't communicate. So if you think the person didn't listen to you well, you can raise the issue with someone that the person, a witness that the person respects, or you think that can talk to the person. And you also tell the person what you think about the issue and not the person. If he or she still refuses to listen, okay, so in this case, we are the HR. So this said, take the issue to the HR or the admin. So I'd have just said, take it to the line manager above the both of you, And most importantly, as an HR manager, please, there must be a written document and a culture of on grievance. There must be a written document. There must be a step-by-step. Either you have an anonymous reporting where people can put in their grievance, because what you want to do as an HR manager is you want to nip grievance in the bud because before it becomes a conflict. Because the cost of conflict is usually a lot of damage. So if you can attack a person's resentment or a person's maltreatment mindset before it becomes a conflict, it's easier for you to handle as an HR manager. So please, if you don't have a culture or a grievance procedure, I would advise that as an HR manager, you propose that to the management so that there is a step-by-step procedure on if you feel this certain kind of way, or for issues in this light, these are the things you should do. If you do an anonymous reporting, if you want to talk to a line manager, you can talk to a line manager. If you want to, but there must be something, there must be a document, there must be a procedure. Sometimes it might not be a document, even though I prefer that it is a document, but there must be a procedure on dealing with complaints, with people's complaints or people's feeling of unfair maltreatment. If not, leave it to the wind, and people will just, begin to take chances and take advantage of how they feel. And all right, so when you are a reconciliator, I said earlier that you can be a party to the conflict and you can also be a reconciliator. When you are a reconciliator between two people that you feel are having issues, I also have to note here that there is no little conflict and there is no large conflict, because how we see things are different. So you're not trying to undermine any weight of conflict. You make sure that the parties have spoken. And I always advise, okay, so I'll go there. But you make sure that the parties have spoken, listen to the parties separately, and take note of their body language. Body language is almost about 70% of what people are not saying. So you take note of their perspective of life or how they see things, and take note of their body language. After doing that, you speak to a neutral person that knows those two parties and most likely was there when it happened, to get a third opinion or a third party opinion on that same issue. When you're calling both parties to actually have a meeting, I always advise that you have a physical meeting over an online meeting, because online meeting has a way of misinterpreting our emotions and what we're trying to say. And because we have different ways that we talk, we also advise that you set equal timing for them to talk. Okay, Mr. A, you have 5 minutes to say what you have to say. Mr. B, you also have 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, I'll have to cut you short. At the end of 5 minutes, I also have to cut you short. Then you reduce interruptions. If not, you can be in a conflict situation as an HR where one person is talking for 1 hour and the other person hasn't said anything. And you also want to avoid that because you want to hear both of them out. They are both entitled to fair hearing. Ask them to start with the most important things, because you don't have all day. And you also don't want them to beat about the bush. And take note while they are talking. Remember that you have spoken to them separately. before calling both of them in a meeting. So now you're trying to merge what they said separately to you and what they're now saying to you in person as both of them being together. All right. So after you do that, you can point out common ground first before pointing out their faults. And it's very, very simple why we do that. Because you don't want their guards to be up. So you say something like, oh, Mr. A or Mr. B, I can see that both of you have the interest of this organization at heart. And that's why both of you are having a clash about this issue. However, I also like to point out a few places where I think that there were loopholes in communication. That way, you're pointing out the common grounds that they have, and then you're now pointing out their faults. And you're also mindful not to indict or attack anybody's personality. Where you've done that or you finish doing that, you now encourage them to instantly apologize. And you also let them know that you don't want this to affect their work going forward. Because people have a habit of when you are done with conflict, they still go back and have this psychology of it's not done in my mind. You know, Yoruba will say apologies, but Yoruba will say koti tono me. So, but you also encourage them immediately to don't allow this affect their work because work is important. And that's why we're all here. Okay. So yes, understanding people, I'll just run through this. Every human needs to be understood because that's how you can weigh in into a conflict as a professional. So Abraham Maslow said our needs are different, and that's why we have, that's why we think differently, we see life differently. Some point physiological needs, some point basic needs. People, they are still in belongingness, esteem. Wherever a person is, it's your job as a HR manager to be able to decipher where your employee is at a particular point in time and know that that is what is going to form their perspective or how they see life. Okay, understanding personality. So personality, yes, is very, very important in every team. So in every team, you would have one of these major personalities. I know there are different personalities. We have up to 16, 20, 50, but these are the core categorization of personalities. You'd have a sanguine, someone that is always bubbly, but the person easily forgets. But the person is very fun, very social, very charismatic, but very forgetful as well. And the person can sound unserious at a particular point in time. You would have a choleric, very work-driven, very task-oriented, very confident. They already know the solution before you talk. They're very decisive, but they're also very impatient. And sometimes they can be seen as unemotional, or they can be seen as not having conscience or more logical than emotional. You have that. You also have a melancholy on your team. Very detailed, self-reliant, very thoughtful. They're very analytical. But the bad part about them is that they're not quick at decision-making. So they like details. So they are more into details than the implementation. And then you have a phlegmatic. A phlegmatic is very laid back, people that will say, whatever you say, I'm fine with it. They're not, they can be very, very intelligent, but they are not confrontational in any way. They don't have outbursts of anger. These kind of people, if you don't talk to them personally, you might not know what they are thinking. You might not understand their mindsets because they're very laid back. They'll never talk to you. They'll never confront you. So as an HR manager, you need to understand everybody's personalities and how they react, how they manage. You manage your own emotions. You also manage their reactions and relationships. If you have a choleric on your team, for example, the person would never remember to bond. The person will come in as impatient. The person will come in as always knowing what to do. If you have a sanguine on your team, the person is always bubbly, but the person forgets the work. The person forgets that we are here to work. So you need to constantly remind the person that we are here to work, no matter how bubbly or how, fun you want to be. If you have a melancholy on your team, you need to push them to start implementing because they will analyze in their head, overanalyze, analyze, and all these things can cause conflicts. Thus, the easiest of people that are even phlegmatics also have conflicts because the fact that they are laid back, cholerics might not really, really like them. Cholerics feel that, oh, they're too laid back. So the choleric is feeling irritated at a phlegmatic. You understand? And maybe a male is feeling irritated as a sanguine for being too out there. And that can, so you need to understand everybody. That also helps you to delegate and manage clashes of interest. It helps you to delegate and know who is supposed to be doing what. different points in time. Okay, so gender difference, this is very simple. We have men and we have women. So you just need to know that women and men are different in terms of perspective, physique, emotions, and logic. There are some things that, you know, there's no gender that is superior or inferior, but there's some things that women do better and men do better. It doesn't mean one sex is better than the other. It just means that they are different in the way they see things. Okay. And there are other differences that can be used to understand human dynamics. Religion, location, age, experience, exposure. I'm sure that a lot of HRE have been hearing funny things, especially when it comes to religion or people's experience or people's age or exposure. But you have to know that these things form people's perspective and you can't run away from it. You can't run away from it. A person's religion it plays a high role as to how they see life. And that's very, very important. Okay, so additionally, how to be a good communicator. Yes, as a HR manager, because you're going to be communicating with everybody and you're going to be managing conflicts that starts from grievance, understand human dynamics. And I just talked about that in the personality, different personality that we have. If your teammates or the team members you have not done a personality test yet, I suggest that they do a personality test and you can use that. If they are truthful about the test, you can use that to have a bit of an understanding. Even by observing people, you can tell who is a choleric, who is a melancholy. And if you think that you can't observe them enough, then they can take a test, you know, it can just be a fun thing to do. They can take a test and you can say, okay, yes, this person is a choleric. So you know how to, so when the person is impatient, you know that the person is only exhibiting their personality, even though what you need to do is not to align it to work as a good communicator. So you manage people's perception because we see people from our lenses. So you have to manage everyone's perception or perspective. You can't be a good communicator without listening. Listening is one of the hardest skills of communication. Even in conflict resolution or management, you must be a good listener. And listening here is not only about using your ears, it's about using your mind to understand what that person is not saying or the person's body language. So that's very important. Be open, be honest, try to resolve conflicts immediately or promptly as best as you can. Take feedback and give feedback constructively in a way that people don't see it as being attacked, even though some people would because of how they see life, but just do your best to be professional with it. Practice empathy, put yourself in people's shoes, value relationships, be emotionally intelligent. Our emotions are real, but they're not always true. So you have to understand, be aware of your emotions and other people's emotions. Avoid bias or stereotypes, address issues, don't attack personalities, and avoid assumptions. Questions. Yeah, so conflict resolution or management is very important because you need trust. You need trust. If you see an employee, for example, that trusts the process of grievance procedure in an organization or how the HR or admin manages conflicts, the person is more open to saying what they feel. And that goes to affect his productivity in every light. So you need to build that trust and cohesion, you know, and that's very important. You need interaction. Of course, we must interact. We must connect. And the fact that we're different, we must have clash of interest. And it must be managed. It builds effective teams. Yeah, it builds teams that can stand the test of time. It supports the growth of the organization. It enhances productivity. It reduces confusion. That's one thing that you don't want. You don't want people to be confused because things were not resolved properly. You also facilitate decision making. So, and then it stabilizes mental health. And mental health is something that's a very big topic. It's a very big issue. We are Nigerians, majority of us, if not all of us. So we know that we go through a lot in our daily lives, and we don't want to add a daily consistent workplace conflict. If you look at how long you spend in the office, maybe 8 hours per day, or let me say averagely 40 hours per week, you spend more time in the office than you spend at any other place, whether church or mosque or the home or with your family. So you also want an environment that is psychologically safe for employees, for all the employees to thrive. You want somewhere where people, even if they're not looking forward to the job in itself, they'll be looking forward to the cohesion and the environment being conducive, both physically and psychologically. So that mental health is a very, very, very big issue. And that's, you can only achieve that when conflict is managed promptly. Okay, and conflict management is a tool for everyday life. So aside from our work, we get to manage conflicts with every other person, our neighbors, everybody that we come across. Okay, so this is just an add-on. The role of the ministry. So I work in the South Regional Office of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. And at the point where you feel that the conflict is beyond your capacity as the HR manager, please feel free to reach out to me or the office number. I think I'll drop that with Mr. Yemi, because what we do is that we are chartered mediators. We are professional at resolving conflicts. That's what our job. Industrial relations is part of our core mandate. So we do it on a very professional level. And yes, we do other things. We do skills and training, OSH, M&E, employment services, labor migration, social security, mental health, advocacy, and sensitization. But industrial relations there is a very big issue. A lot of things that you would use, and this is very important, a lot of things that you would use to manage conflict would come from the labor law or the ILO convention, or should I say the extant laws. Those are the relevant laws that are in Nigeria. So the labor law, says that there should be harmony through dialogue and mediation in the workplace. So that's why it's important for employees and stakeholders to have a mentally balanced working environment. So the labor law is very big on conflict resolution and industrial relations. And that's why the Fair Work Act, we have the Trade Disputes Act, the Trade Union Act, we have the labor law, and we have the ILO Convention on industrial relations and mediation. Those things are things that when you take a look at them, you can see what the law even says as regarding conflict management and resolution. Okay, so yes, we're very big on stakeholders and employees having a mentally balanced workplace. Okay, so if you can't live or work alone, then interaction and conflict becomes very inevitable. You can actually talk without being offensive, and you can actually listen without being defensive. And that's very important. So the goal is to be global in our practice, but to be very local in our implementation so that we can achieve a harmonious place. At this point, I think I'd like to take questions or practical scenarios that we can, dissect together. So if you have any questions,
thank you for that excellent presentation. Very insightful, very precise, straight to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for questions, contributions. You have any challenge, please raise your hands. I'll recognize you. I'll quickly give you the floor to Oreoluwa. Oreoluwa, you have the floor. Please, if you have questions, raise your hands or quickly type in the chat box. We'll start with Oreoluwa, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, all right. My name is Oreoluwa. Thank you, madam, for that class. I really learned a lot. You are speaking from the perspective of HR manager, and it resonates well with me. My question is, okay, let me just paint a scenario. In my former place of work, I don't know, I was of the opinion that, the employers, say for example, in a sole proprietorship or a company with less staff strength, that the managing director doesn't like it when the staff, when the staff are cordial, because they believe that when someone messes up, the other person covers them up. So one thing I experienced often was a situation whereby if I did something wrong, my boss wouldn't actually address me directly. He would go to meet my colleague, talk to he or she about it, and then tell the person to, in his words, fire her well, so that, she will know that what she did is wrong. Sometimes I just go into the office and I don't know what I've done, and then just see this other colleague of mine giving me attitude, shouting at me, and all of that. And normally, I'm not under the supervision of this person. So, like in that kind of situation, what do you think I could have done? Was I supposed to approach my boss at that point in time? Because when it comes in after all this, it just comes in and pretends like he doesn't know what is going on, but he actually instigated that person against me, of which I have evidence to prove that fact. So my question is, in that kind of situation or in that kind of work environment, how do you address this when even the managing director himself is the one instigating the staff against each other? Thank you.
All right, fantastic. So that is a very delicate issue. So because you know that management or the owners of organizations sometimes don't know better. But yes, I feel that you so if I was the one, so let me put myself in the scenario so that I can say what I would have done. So what I would have done in that scenario was to ask questions from my colleagues, maybe the one I'm cordial with, to say, is this the way this has been going on before I came here, for example, so that I know if it is directed to me or that is how the person is generally. So after doing that, if I can confirm that that person is like that, I can have a civil conversation with them, very civil. And I think that the kind of conversation I'm going to have is the conversation that points the person to the direction of the consequences of what they are doing for the whole organization, not just about me. So, for example, I can say something like, "Oh, good afternoon, Mr. So. I noticed something and I'd like to share with you, and I feel that it's going to hamper the culture of the organization and the general well-being or growth of the organization." Okay, so when he says that, of course, maybe he might want to listen, and you say, "Oh, I feel that when when people are having issues, for example, that they're not addressed directly, they're addressed through somebody else. And I feel that people should be addressed directly so that there's no confusion. Because even when words begin to move from people to people, it begins to have add-on. It becomes more like a gossip than more of a conflict management. So I think that if I was in that scenario, like I said, I would have first asked if that he was doing it directly to me, so that I know that if it's a direct clash of interest between me and him, or if that's how he is generally. If that's how he is generally, I would have had a conversation with him and pointing to the consequence of what he is doing in the long run. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have some questions in the chat box. Queen, you may want to go through them.
Okay, all right. So someone says, I really want to know how the Federal Ministry of Labor regulates and ensures full compliance of the Nigerian labor law by multinational organizations in Nigeria. Okay, so yes, our M&E, if you look at our core mandate, M&E is part of our core mandate. And inside that M&E, we have info sessions with organization heads or management. We have inspections. We have inspections where we can go in and then get to know what they are implementing as regards the labor law. So the labor law says give NSITF, give health insurance. Yes, we can. Of course, we can. The only thing that, another thing that we like to do is that if you know any organization that is falling short of anything, please report to the ministry. The truth is that we cannot see all the organizations. We cannot see every organization. What we also like complaints. We get labor, something we got labor complaints. We get labor complaints from people, from concerned citizens to say, I know this XYZ organization and I think that they should be handled or they should be managed in this light. This is what I've noticed. And of course, we'll handle it professionally without the person that is even complaining being in the picture. That's what we do. So yes, we have info sessions, like I said, we have inspections both for factories and for labor inspections, which has to do with welfare of employees. And we have trainings, we have customized trainings, both for the organizations and at our end. So we do a lot of M&E and we also have stakeholder engagements. So some of the management, people on this management board are stakeholders of our stakeholders forum that we have the conversations with, except this particular organization is not part of it yet, which I won't know because I don't know the organization. But if you have any labor complaints as regards any organization, please let us know. Someone says, how would you advise to those who work in the environment whereby many are happening because of multicultural indifferences? Yes, fantastic. I talked about cultural differences at the beginning, and I said it exists, but it is not why we are here. If we are in the workplace, our focus is not our cultural difference. Our focus is a task difference. Our focus should arise. And that's why as employees, if you're an employee or an HR manager, you should always ring it in people's head that we are here because of work. Work is the primary reason why we are here. So that you are Ijebu or that you're Hausa, keep that aside and let's get the work done, because we'll always be different. We'll always be different. So that one is a mindset thing, and it can come with a lot of engagements. You can slide it into informal sessions and trainings. That's the best you can do, because people come with a mindset. But it's there. But that shouldn't be the focus of an organization. Yeah, so can an aggrieved employee report their employer or former employer to the Federal Ministry of Labor? Yes, please, you can. You can report to the Federal Ministry of Labor. I'll drop a WhatsApp number on the chat now. I think I can do that. I have a WhatsApp number where you can send your labor complaint to. And the good thing is that I also manage this number alongside with some of my senior colleagues. Yes, so I've dropped the WhatsApp number and you can send your labor complaints. If someone says, Adiola says, the goal and the objective of the company should be our focus. Yes, fantastic. That should be our focus. And that's why I say that can only come with a change of mindsets. People need to know. We don't want to be having conversations that are not important. You can't call me as a mediator now and say the reason why you are having clash is because one person likes salt in their soup, another person doesn't like salt in their soup. That's very unnecessary. It's very secondary to why I'm here. One of the reasons why you are there as the HR is to get the job done and to make sure that the welfare of employees are catered to. And that was why I said HR managers or admin people, our work is very delicate because we are employees, but our other employees see us as management. So it can be very, very dicey. It can be very dicey. They say that, man, but we're not management, really. We are also employees like them, even though some HR managers can be part of management. But we're also employees.
Hello, Queen. Are you still there? Is it me or our network? All right, you can continue. Welcome back.
Thank you. Someone says we are employees with two caps. We wear both management and staff. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, exactly. We're employees with two caps. The only reason why I pointed that out was because in trying to manage conflict sometimes as HR managers, the employees see you as management. So they say, you're part of management now. So what would you say? You know, but that is not it. We're also employees and that's how it is. We have to just balance it. And like I said, it's a mindset thing. And anything that is a mindset thing needs to be adjusted with, as a deliberate effort. It needs to be gradual. And I always advise an informal strategy to adjust the mindset. Because adults have that guard up when you try to make it an official thing or a formal thing. We're trying to adjust the mindset. What about Indian and Lebanese companies that maltreat workers? What is the ministry doing about it? Yes. So that is That was one of our major conversations yesterday. So we have inspections, but it's looking like the inspections are not doing enough in trying to curb this maltreatment. And the reason is because some of these companies have no addresses, they're just in hidden places. And that's why I like to say that if you see anyone at all, we have a lot of people on our radar already that we're dealing with that are maltreating their workers. We have one particular company now that, in fact, we are meeting with them on Monday. They have their staffs, no contracts, nothing, just an ID card. And we have been on their case since last year. And it came as a labor complaint. So it was one of the staff that have been there for 2 years that said, this is what I'm going through. And in fact, they have done some things, but we're still not satisfied as to what they have done. So please, someone says since last year. Is it okay? I think this is a response to what I'm trying to say. So if it's responding since last year, what I'm trying to say, yes, because they are supposed to do some things in batches and with different timelines. So yes. But yes, please, our monitoring and evaluation has to do with badging in and scheduled inspections and routine inspections, follow-up inspections, but we can't see every organization. So please, we need help. Someone says, how do one manage her grievance in an environment that is highly politicized, and HR, the compensation unit is the culprit, and the grievance is on internal equity in compensation? This is very, very delicate. This is very delicate. Anything that has to do with compensation is very delicate. Okay. So, for example, like I said, I would like to know if this company has any grievance procedure. If they have any grievance procedure, this one that is highly politicized, if they have any grievance procedure, what this person is trying to say is that maybe the politics is above whatever procedure that is on ground, if at all there is. And it's very possible, it happens. So this company we can come in informally. Because sometimes it's not just about compliance. Sometimes it's a knowledge gap. Sometimes what we see is that the knowledge gap. If management know better, they will do better. And that's why we have info sessions on one hand, and then we have the labor law compliance on the other hand. So highly politicized, well, this is a lot, but I'd like to know if they have a grievance procedure. Is it in black and white? If it's not, and there should be a grievance procedure. If there is none, is there an anonymous reporting? Those things are important. What is your advice if it is the union leader that are causing strife and conflict in the organization? Please report them to us. We would like to know what union is causing strife, and we'd like to know why they're causing strife. We'd like to know why they're causing strife. They will come to the Federal Ministry of Labor and explain. If it's a jurisdictional issue, do we still have labor inspectors in Nigeria? Yes, we do. We do. I know that was a spiteful question, but yes, we do. We do. Yeah, we do. So please, for the union leaders, would like to know, because we'd like to know what union, and would like to know why they're causing a strife, so we can handle it better. If it's a jurisdiction issue, we'd like to explain what the law says. Okay, so let us reorientate them. Yes, that is ongoing. That's a work in progress. We are doing that. Shay, yes, we're doing that. If an employee has been a casual staff for over 5 years, how can the ministry assist? Yes, so we need to have this. It's a very delicate conversation. We need to know why the company is keeping the employee as a casual staff. Being a casual staff for over 5 years is not acceptable. Does the company intend to make the person question?
Yes, I can read some of them, just a few.
Okay, what's your
For example,
yeah.
Franca is saying, is it lawful for the management of a company to withhold the salary of an existing staff that did not commit any crime?
No, that is not
And
lawful.
is it existing or exiting? Okay, exiting. that has resigned or something,
Someone has resigned
and the company is
and the
now
management is holding the. So for the contract of employment, is there anything that states something about resignation? You know, the organization has supposed to be has a notice, for example. So the person give notice. Are they doing it for lack of performance? But they shouldn't. People have rights to their pay. People have rights. When they've worked, they have rights to their pay. So the management should not withhold anybody's salary. It shouldn't. Someone is saying what law notice was given. Yes, if notice was given, then the person should be paid. The person should be paid, and I'd like to know this organization, please. The person should be paid. Once the notice was given and there's evidence that the notice was given in lieu, maybe 1 month, the person should be paid. Someone said, what laws protect conflict resolution and labor laws in Nigeria? Okay, I don't know if this came out correctly, but the labor law itself protects conflict resolution. The Trade Dispute Act protects conflict resolution. The Trade Union Act protects conflict resolution. The Fair Work Act protects conflict resolution. The Minimum Wage Act protects conflict resolution. The ILO Convention on Wages, on conflict management protects conflict resolution. The extant laws that we have, I don't know. And the best part is that it's only tripping off on my laptop, but my phone is just there. And I don't know why I don't know if it's from the laptop, but I'm trying to log in with my phone as well, so that once it trips off here, I'll be on my phone.
Okay, not a problem. So there's
somebody said something about in situations where the MD is toxic and wouldn't listen to the human resource. Yes, he shouts and insults staff. Can he be reported? Yes, it should be, please. We need to have, and sometimes these toxic MDs, sometimes it's just conversation will just solve it. Sometimes just a conversation from the ministry to them and to just be solved. So please, yes, it can be reported, because a toxic workplace it has a lot to do with our mental health. Yes, it can. Thanks for the good work. I'd like to know if it's lawful for okay. I think we've handled that. Say yes, MD can be reported. Yes, MD can be reported. Nobody's above the law. If a trade union can be reported, why can't an MD be reported? HR2 needs to be grounded. Yes, please. Yes, please. I agree. The HR needs to be grounded. And that's the reason why I say that one of the ways that you can be grounded, aside from knowing what the law says, one of the ways we can be grounded is forums like this, where we can exchange ideas and know what to do in practical scenarios. Because the law is law, but practical scenarios are discussed in forums like this. And it's very important. Supposed to something about deductions now.
So there's a question here from Tochukwu. He says there, a company I know makes deductions, for example, tax, pensions, from staff members, but they don't remit to the appropriate government authorities. How can Federal Ministry of Labor help this particular staff? So while we are waiting for her, we would let our colleague, Mr. Sheyi Adebola, to share his perspective. Sheyi, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Tolex. Number one, the Pension Reform Act gives you an opportunity to report after a number of days if your pension is not remitted. The same thing, the payee laws or acts. So many laws or instant laws are available for us to take advantage of. But unfortunately, HR2 do not understand some of these things. Or let me say some HR. We also have opportunities to go back to the HR mentorship platform to read so many solutions that have been profiled in instances as this. Also, you may not feel it if you are just starting out in your career, but I'm sure let me tell you, at some point of your life, you are looking at your pension how much is accumulating. If you want to do some government transactions, you are looking at your tax card. You are looking at some traveling trips that you need to present that you pay tax, or you want to do. Oluyemi is here, he can tell you a lot, because he's one of our governing council members, that if you need to interact with government and to get to a certain level, you need to present some of these documents. In fact, some of the questions you're asking, I was just harassing somebody in NSIT. If you know your right and you make your deductions of payment regularly, you have the right to make claims because you have documents. Again, don't forget that some of these things have timeline. Pension have timeline after payment of salary. Tax have timeline after payment of salary. NSITF, ITF, so many things they have taught us before on this platform. So HR practitioners, you need to know exactly if you are sitting in any of these things on how to help your staff. Also, I don't know what you have in your hand, but these are subtle ways to explain without management understanding. You are teaching people outrightly. Put some of these things in your handbook. Put some of these things in your side documents, side policies, in your SOP. By the time you do your employee day, do pep talk, do departmental meeting, enlighten staff. Before you know it, everybody's conscious and they begin to know themselves. So HR also know thyself in order for you to dish out to others. Thank you, Oluyemi.
Thank you so much, my brother, Sheyi Debola, for that insightful exposition. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a convenient time for us to draw the curtains on tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And I would like to sincerely, very sincerely, thank our professional colleague and associates who has been generous, gracious to share from a wealth of experience. Again, she has dropped a phone number for labor complaints, and she has explicitly made us to realize that some of the things we keep to ourselves, we can escalate to the Federal Ministry of Labor, and they will follow it through. And I personally will take that offer up with her on behalf of some of the members who have escalated one or two things to us. Hopefully, too, I'm sure that even at the level of CIPM, there will be more and more collaborations with the Federal Ministry of Labor, so that especially at a time like this, the pressure is everywhere, and people's mental well-being and work-life balance matters. Why should someone work and not get paid, for example? Why should you exit an organization and months after, without any due reason or cause, their entitlement is being held on to? Why should we work with certain expatriates and be treated like slaves in our own country? This and more. We only try if we don't escalate and if we don't pursue. Like they say, don't grieve for any form of injustice in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great evening. Time well spent. I will upload this session in the next 30 minutes. See you at the next webinar. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining. Good night.